Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. We love to go deep here. And today we are diving into a book that just might turn your whole world upside down.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
It is exciting and maybe a little unsettling, but definitely thought-provoking. It's called Know Yourself and Become Wealthy by Frank Katembo.
Okay, I've heard of this book.
Yeah.
It's been making the rounds in certain circles.
It has, and for good reason. Katembo tackles a huge question right off the bat. Who are you here? But he doesn't stop there. He connects this self-discovery to achieving real wealth.
And I'm guessing he's not just talking about money here.
You got it.
Yeah.
He's talking about a deeper kind of wealth, that inner richness that comes from aligning with your true purpose and potential.
It's like he's saying true wealth starts from within.
Exactly. And it's not just some feel-good self-help stuff.
Huh?
Katembo presents a very specific framework for understanding how this works. It's a fascinating blend of spirituality, ancient wisdom, and even some practical techniques for manifestation.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts and hoping for the best. He actually offers some tools for making those desires a reality.
He does. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. We're going to explore Katembo's core premise and unpack some of those key concepts that might just change the way you view yourself and the world around you.
I'm ready to dive in. Let's do this.
Okay, so let's start with the central argument of the book. Katembo says that true wealth, both internal and external, comes from understanding yourself, your connection to something bigger. He calls it the divine, and how creation itself works.
It's a big claim.
It is. But he argues that without that foundation, we're basically living on autopilot, running on default settings, accepting limitations that we might not even be aware of.
So we're kind of sleepwalking through life, not fully conscious of our own power and potential.
That's a great way to put it. And he goes on to say that this lack of self-awareness is actually the root of poverty, and not just financial poverty. He's talking about a poverty of the soul, a sense of being disconnected from our true nature.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that emptiness, that sense of something being missing, even if they have material success.
Exactly. And Katembo argues that this emptiness comes from not knowing ourselves at the deepest level. He says we become limited in every area of life because we haven't tapped into our true creative potential.
It's like we're playing a video game on the easiest setting, not realizing that there's a whole other level of difficulty and excitement waiting for us.
I love that analogy. It's so true. So the question is, how do we unlock that next level? How do we start to know ourselves in this profound way that Katembo is talking about?
Well, he uses a very interesting term. He says we need to understand the nature of the creator.
Okay. Now this is where things get really interesting. Katembo uses the term father a lot when referring to God or the divine source of creation, but he's not talking about traditional religious dogma.
Right. He's not asking us to blindly follow a set of beliefs. He's encouraging us to explore the essence of creation itself, the underlying principles that govern the universe.
Exactly. And here's the mind-blowing part. He argues that to understand ourselves, we have to understand the Creator because we are made in the Creator's image.
Wait. So I'm not just made by the creator, but I'm a creator myself.
That's the radical idea he's putting forward. If the Creator is the ultimate source of creation, then we as creations also possess that inherent power to create.
That's a huge concept to wrap your head around.
It is. It's like he's saying we're not just these little insignificant beings at the mercy of fate. We actually have the power to shape our reality, to manifest our desires, to create the lives we truly want.
But if we have this incredible creative power, why are so many of us struggling to create the lives we want? Why are we settling for mediocrity?
That's the central question that Katembo tackles in the book, and he argues that it all comes back to that lack of self-knowledge. We become limited in every area of life because we haven't tapped into our true creative potential.
So it's like we're driving a Ferrari, but we're stuck in first gear. We have all this power under the hood, but we don't know how to access it.
Precisely. And Katembo provides a framework for understanding how to shift gears, how to move from limitation to empowerment.
I'm really curious to hear more about that framework. What are the steps involved in tapping into this creative potential?
Well, the first step is to understand the different levels of knowledge. He says there's knowledge, understanding, and then there's wisdom.
Okay, I'm following you so far.
So knowledge is like collecting information. Right. It's
Mhm.
reading books, taking courses, listening to podcasts like this one.
Right. It's gathering those raw materials.
Exactly. But understanding, he says, is when you internalize that knowledge, you grasp the meaning behind the facts, you connect the dots and start to see the bigger picture.
So it's not just about having a head full of information. It's about actually making sense of it, seeing how it all fits together.
Exactly. And this is where things start to get really interesting, because Katembo argues that even understanding isn't enough. He says the true prize is wisdom.
Wisdom. What does he mean by that?
Wisdom is the ability to apply that knowledge and understanding in a way that creates results. It's about taking action based on what you know and understand to create positive change in your life and in the world around you.
So it's not just about knowing things. It's about actually using that knowledge to make a difference.
Exactly. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
That makes a lot of sense. I've met plenty of people who can talk a good game, but they never seem to get any real results.
And that's because they haven't mastered the art of wisdom. They haven't figured out how to translate their knowledge and understanding into action.
So how do we develop this wisdom? How do we bridge the gap between knowing and doing?
That's a great question. And that's what we're going to be exploring in more depth as we continue our deep dive into know yourself and become wealthy.
I'm ready for the next level. Let's keep going.
Okay, so to illustrate this idea of wisdom, Katembo brings in a very thought-provoking metaphor. He talks about Adam and Eve and the forbidden food.
Ah, the classic story of temptation and downfall.
But here's the twist Katembo presents. Eating the fruit of knowledge is actually necessary for growth, for expanding our awareness.
So it's not about avoiding knowledge or staying in a state of ignorance. It's about embracing the quest for understanding.
Precisely. It's like saying, hey, you need to learn and explore to evolve. But then he asks this really interesting question. Where's the tree of eternal life? Where's that knowledge hidden?
Whoa, that's a powerful question. It's like he's suggesting there's a whole other level of knowledge, something beyond what we typically consider.
Exactly. It's like he's hinting at a secret knowledge, a wisdom that unlocks a completely different way of being. And to illustrate this, he talks about humanity receiving two major upgrades, two incredible gifts.
2 upgrades. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
One grants godlike knowledge, the ability to create and control. But the second upgrade unlocks something even more extraordinary, eternal life, not just physical, but spiritual.
Eternal life. That's a big claim. What does he mean by that?
He doesn't lay out a step-by-step guide to achieving this eternal life, but it's more about a shift in consciousness, a transcendence of our limited human perspective.
So it's not about living forever in a physical body. It's about tapping into a deeper dimension of existence.
Exactly. It's about awakening to our true nature as spiritual beings who are connected to something far greater than ourselves.
Okay, I'm starting to see where he's going with this.
Yeah.
But how do we access these upgrades? How do we tap into this hidden knowledge, this tree of eternal life?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one that we'll be exploring in more detail as we continue our deep dive. But Katembo offers some clues, some intriguing hints about the path we need to take.
Okay, I'm all ears. Lay those clues on me.
One of the key clues he offers is this. He compares humanity to an elephant.
An elephant. How does humanity relate to an elephant?
He's saying that like an elephant, we contain this vast spectrum of attributes. We have immense power and potential within us, but we also have limitations. The key is discerning what to embrace and what to let go of.
So we need to figure out which parts of ourselves are serving our highest good and which parts are holding us back.
Exactly. It's about eating the right things, both physically and spiritually, to activate our full potential.
That's a powerful analogy. I can already see how this applies to my own life. There are definitely some habits and beliefs that I need to discard, so to speak.
We all have those. It's part of the human experience. But Katembo's message is ultimately one of hope. He's saying that we have the power to choose which parts of ourselves we want to nourish and which parts we want to release.
So it's not about being perfect or trying to get rid of all our flaws. It's about recognizing our full spectrum of being and making conscious choices that align with our highest good.
Exactly. And that's a beautiful and empowering message, don't you think?
Absolutely. It gives us a sense of agency and responsibility. It reminds us that we're not just victims of circumstance, but active participants in creating our own reality.
And that's what Know Yourself and Become Wealthy is all about. It's about empowering you to step into your full potential, to embrace your true nature as a creator, and to manifest a life that is rich in every sense of the word.
I love that. And I can't wait to explore these concepts in more depth as we continue our deep dive.
Me too.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, folks, because we're just getting started. All right, so we're back, and we've been talking about this really interesting idea from Katembo's book, Know Yourself and Become Wealthy, about humanity needing two upgrades.
Yeah, those upgrades to unlock like godlike knowledge and eternal life.
Right, exactly. But those concepts can feel kind of abstract and out there, especially when we're dealing with the day-to-day challenges of life.
Totally. It's like, how do we bridge the gap between these big ideas and actually applying them to our own lives?
That's the million-dollar question. And luckily, Katembo doesn't just leave us hanging with these high-level concepts. He actually offers some very practical guidance for how to start manifesting these upgrades in our own experience.
Okay, so less theory, more practice. I like it.
Exactly. And one of the key things he emphasizes is the power of emotion in the manifestation process.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this. It's not enough to just think about what you want. You have to actually feel it as if it's already yours.
You got it. He says intention sets the goal, but emotion is the fuel that drives it. It's like having a car with a full tank of gas, but no ignition. The emotion is what sparks the engine and gets things moving.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about cultivating the right feelings to attract what we want.
Exactly. And he argues that faith and belief are the emotions of things not yet received.
That's interesting. So it's like feeling the reality of what you want to create before it actually shows up in the physical world.
Precisely. It's about trusting that the universe is working in your favor, even if you can't see the evidence of it yet.
Okay, I get it. But emotions can be tricky, right? Sometimes it's hard to just switch on those feelings of faith and belief,
Yeah.
especially when you're facing challenges or setbacks.
Totally. I've definitely struggled with that myself. It's like, how do you conjure up those positive vibes when life is throwing curveballs your way?
Right. It can feel like an uphill battle sometimes.
It can. But Katembo offers some really helpful techniques for shifting your mindset and reprogramming your subconscious beliefs so that those positive emotions become more natural and accessible.
Reprogramming. That sounds intense.
It's actually not as complicated as it sounds. He basically says that our subconscious minds are like a user manual that's been programmed with beliefs and patterns from our upbringing, our culture, our experiences.
So it's like we're running on software that's been installed without our conscious consent.
Exactly. And a lot of that programming might be outdated or faulty, leading us away from our true potential. So he encourages us to identify those limiting beliefs and consciously choose to rewrite them.
It's like we have the power to edit our own user manuals to create a new set of instructions for our lives.
That's a great way to put it. And he offers some specific techniques for doing this. One of the key tools he emphasizes is the power of language, specifically trigger words and affirmations.
You mean like using specific words to kind of hack our own brains and create those feelings of faith and belief?
Exactly. It's about using language intentionally to influence your thoughts and feelings. He suggests creating personalized affirmations that resonate with your goals and repeating them regularly, even if you don't fully believe them at first.
So it's like planting seeds in your subconscious mind, even if the soil feels a bit barren at the moment.
Exactly. It's about consistently watering those seeds with positive self-talk, and eventually they'll start to sprout.
I like that analogy. But what about those deeply ingrained negative beliefs that just keep popping up like weeds? How do we deal with those?
He acknowledges those challenges. He says our subconscious minds are like a user manual that's been programmed with beliefs and patterns from our upbringing, our culture and our experiences, and he calls this our internal compass.
But sometimes that compass seems to be pointing us in the wrong direction.
Totally. And he says that a lot of this programming might be faulty, leading us away from our true potential.
So what do we do about it?
Well, he encourages us to identify those limiting beliefs and consciously choose to rewrite them.
So it's like we have the power to edit our own user manuals to create a new set of instructions for our lives.
You got it. And he suggests practicing visualization, acting as if your desires have already manifested.
Oh, so like fake it till you make it, sort of.
Yeah, kinda. And aligning your actions with your intentions, walking the walk, so to speak. It's about creating a state of congruence between your inner and outer world.
Okay, I can see how that would be powerful. But let's get back to those two upgrades you mentioned earlier, the ones that grant godlike knowledge and eternal life.
Mm.
I have to admit, I'm still a bit skeptical about those. What exactly does Katembo say about how we access those upgrades?
Yeah, he's a bit vague on the specifics, but he suggests that these upgrades might be seen as a threat to established hierarchies, both spiritual and earthly.
Interesting. So it's like there's this secret knowledge that's been kept hidden from us to keep us in a state of powerlessness.
He uses the example of Solomon summoning dark forces to build his temple, and even quotes Paul's statement about wrestling against principalities and powers in high places.
So it's like there's this cosmic battle going on for control over human consciousness,
Mm.
with knowledge being the ultimate weapon.
It kind of feels that way, right? And it makes you wonder, what are we capable of achieving if we fully embrace our power as creators?
That's a huge question to ponder.
It is. But for now, let's focus on those practical techniques for reprogramming our beliefs and shifting our mindset, because that's where the real magic starts to happen.
Okay, I'm ready to get practical. What are some of the tools that Katembo offers for this reprogramming process?
Well, he dives into the power of autosuggestion, which is essentially using affirmations and positive self-talk to reprogram the subconscious mind.
So it's like using language as a tool to rewrite those negative scripts that are running in the background.
Exactly. He also talks about the importance of recognizing and challenging your inner critic, that voice of doubt and fear that can sabotage your efforts.
It's like having a constant negative Nancy on your shoulder, whispering doubts in your ear.
I know that voice all too well. He even provides specific examples of how to reframe negative thoughts into positive ones. It's about shifting your internal dialogue from one of limitation to one of empowerment.
It sounds like a lot of this comes down to taking responsibility for our own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs.
It does. We can't blame external circumstances or other people for our unhappiness. We have the power to choose a different reality.
That's a powerful reminder. But it can be easy to get lost in the theory, right? Do we have any examples of people who have actually applied these principles and seen real-world results?
We do. Katembo shares several inspiring stories of individuals who have used these principles to achieve incredible things in various areas of life. One story that really stands out is the story of Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey the actor. I'm all ears. What does he have to do with all of this?
Well, back when Jim Carrey was a struggling actor, he wrote himself a check for $10 million, dated 10 years in the future, for acting services rendered. He carried that check in his wallet as a constant reminder of his goal, visualizing himself achieving that level of success.
And we all know how that story ends. Jim Carrey became one of the highest paid comedic actors of all time, surpassing that $10 million mark. Talk about the power of visualization. But it wasn't just about the money for him, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was about believing in his talent and his worth, and in the possibility of achieving his dreams. He used that check as a tangible symbol of his unwavering faith in himself.
And the universe responded accordingly.
Exactly. It's a beautiful example of how our beliefs can shape our reality.
That's incredible. It really highlights the importance of having that unshakable belief in yourself and your vision, even when the external world seems to be reflecting something different. But Katembo shares other examples.
Yeah.
Right? Not everyone wants to be a famous actor.
He does. He tells the story of a woman named Emma who used manifestation to heal her pattern of attracting unhealthy relationships.
Oh, I've been there. You attract the same type of person over and over again, and it's like, what am I doing wrong? So how did Emma break that cycle?
She realized that she needed to cultivate self-love and a strong sense of self-worth before she could attract a partner who truly valued her. So she started with daily affirmations, visualization, and working on her own emotional healing.
That's so important. The inner work is just as crucial as the outer manifestation. You can't attract what you haven't cultivated within yourself. So did it work for her? Did she find a healthy relationship?
She did. Emma's story is a beautiful testament to that she ended up attracting a healthy, loving partner who mirrored the love and respect she had learned to give herself. It's a reminder that we attract what we are, not what we want.
So if we want to attract loving relationships, we need to become the embodiment of love ourselves. It's deep.
It is. Okay, so we have wealth and relationships covered. What about someone using these principles for, say, educational success?
Katembo actually shares a very personal story about his own son who was facing academic challenges and feeling discouraged about his future.
Ah, that must have been tough for both of them. What did Katembo do to help his son?
Well, he started using autosuggestion, repeatedly affirming his son's intelligence and potential. He basically planted those seeds of belief in his son's subconscious mind, even when his son was struggling to see it himself.
And did it work? Did his son's grades improve?
They did. The son not only improved his grades dramatically, but he also developed a newfound confidence in his abilities.
It's like a ripple effect. One person's transformation can inspire and empower others to step into their own potential. It seems like there are endless possibilities for applying these principles, right? Whether it's business success, creative breakthroughs, or even leaving a legacy that impacts the world. Does Katembo offer any other examples along those lines?
He does. He shares stories of entrepreneurs, inventors, and even his own journey of building a successful business brand with his wife, all using the principles of know yourself and become wealthy to achieve their goals.
So it sounds like he's saying, look, these principles work no matter what your dream is, no matter where you're starting from. And that's a pretty empowering message, isn't it?
It is. It's not just about manifesting material wealth.
Hmm.
It's about aligning with your true nature as a creator,
Hmm.
tapping into your divine potential, and shaping a reality that reflects the richness of your inner being.
Exactly. And that's what makes Know Yourself and Become Wealthy such a unique and valuable read. It's not just about theory, it's about empowering you to actually apply these principles to your life to become the master of your own destiny.
It's been an amazing journey exploring these concepts with you today.
It has. As we wrap up this deep dive into Know Yourself and Become Wealthy, what's the one key takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with?
It's been a really amazing deep dive into this book, Know Yourself and Become Wealthy. And I don't know about you, but I feel like my mind has been blown wide open.
Mine too. There are so many layers to this book. It's like every time you think you've grasped one concept, another one pops up and challenges you to think even deeper. Totally. And I think one of the things that makes this book so powerful is that it's not just about theory. Katembo actually gives us practical tools and techniques that we can use to apply these principles to our own lives.
Exactly. He doesn't just leave us hanging with these big, lofty ideas. He actually shows us how to bring them down to earth and make them work for us.
Right, and those real-life success stories, they really drive that point home. I mean, hearing about people who have actually used these principles to create incredible transformations in their lives, it's so inspiring.
Those stories are like little sparks of hope. They show us that what Contempo is talking about is actually possible. It's not just some pie-in-the-sky philosophy. It's a blueprint for real-world change.
And it's not just about achieving those external markers of success, like Jim Carrey's story about manifesting $10 million. It's about finding that inner wealth, that sense of alignment and fulfillment that comes from knowing yourself and living in accordance with your true purpose.
Absolutely. It's about creating a life that feels authentic and meaningful. A life that reflects the unique gifts and talents that you bring to the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway that you would want to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is this. You already have everything you need within you. You are a creator, a divine spark, capable of manifesting anything you desire. But the first step is to know yourself, to uncover your true essence, your unique gifts, and your connection to the source of all creation.
So beautifully said, and I think that's a perfect place to end our deep dive into Know Yourself and Become Wealthy. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey, and we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas to dive even deeper into your own self-discovery and to start creating the life that you truly desire. Until next time.